Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm actually sitting in today for my uncle. I have an uncle that writes poetry, and he was supposed to have been here. I'm not sure what's going on. I spoke with Aunt Rose last night, and she didn't say there was any kind of a problem. She did tell this story on Uncle Wisdom that Uncle Wisdom had some of his buddies over. They was watching a ball game, and Aunt Rose in the kitchen baking them some cookies. She could overhear them talking, and Uncle Wisdom was telling his friends about this new medicine that he was taking to help his memory and how good it was working. And so one of the fellows said, well, what is it? He said, it sounds like something I need. And Uncle Wisdom said, well, he said, what's that long stem flower we give our wives? They said, a rose? He said, yeah. He said, Rose, what's that new medicine I'm taking for my memory? So that'll let you know kind of where Uncle Wisdom is. I guess he's probably forgot about today. But Uncle Wisdom has been writing Christian poetry for some 20 plus years, and he's done so for the purpose of trying to teach God's principles and encourage people and also to entertain them. But recently Uncle Wisdom has kind of changed a little bit, and he's really concerned about the state of our country, and he has written some about that and trying to get us to look at our own personal responsibility in this. It's very easy for us to, we want to blame Washington for all the problems in the world, and of course blaming somebody as old as time itself. Adam tried to blame God and tried to blame his wife for his own sin, and God wasn't having any part of it. But we need to look at our own self and look at where we are and what can we do about the situation. So we're going to mix some of those in with Uncle Wisdom's traditional poems. We're just going to kind of go back and forth. So hope you enjoy. This first one is entitled Win by Mudslide. This will make sense to you when we get into it. Now we know our nation is now focused on our upcoming presidential election. It'll be a long, drawn-out, grueling process until we make our final selection. We've got the Democrats running on one side, Republicans running on the other. Then we'll get to hear their solemn promises of how they're going to win by a mudslide, my brother. One side will promise to build all roads downhill. That way we won't need any more gas. And we'll save so much money we can send everybody a big check. You'll no longer have to work. You can just sit on your stash. The other side will promise to eliminate all the crime. Well, they're just going to make everything legal. But they're going to ask everybody to be really, really nice and not be acting like Bugsy Siegel. But we've learned that all is promised is not delivered. We've become skeptical, to say the least. They present themselves to be angels from heaven. Then some of them turn out to be a beast. Now we know that leadership is very, very important. But now it's not an instant fix-all. But we think if our party gets in control, everything will be great and we'll all be walking tall. I think we're looking in the wrong direction. I think we need to start looking up. We know that all good things come from above. We need to let God fill our economic cup. We need to put our focus on God's principles and His instruction and less on what the market's doing. And we need to learn what our forefathers had learned and why that it was God that they were pursuing. See, they had experienced what did not work, and they knew from God's word what would, and they were willing to risk their very lives, for in their heart they knew that they could. But it was not an easy journey. You see, evil fights against freedom in every way, but evil calls it a freedom of choice. But it really brings bondage at the end of the day. But now if we want real economic growth and our nation to be number one again, we need to put our focus on godly morals and take a stand against this evil sin. But now as long as we're thinking that more jobs are the answer, or lower taxes is going to be a fix-all, and less regulation on our businesses, but we continue to ignore God's call. You see, these things will not fix our nation's problems, though they are things that we need to do. But it's our morals that is destroying our country. And to fix them is going to depend on me and you. So you examine the things in your life. What are you watching on TV? What are you looking at on your computer? What movies is it you're wanting to go see? But if a change is going to be made in our country, we're going to have to start cleaning it up at home. And we need to pick up our Bible and see what God has to say and spend less time on our phone.